James Lester, CW04. Got out of A school, went back home, and then waited. I was waiting on orders to go on active duty, and then I still worked at that little machine shop. And then when I finally got orders, and I left Roanoke November 25th in 1966 and went to the Vulcan. Well, went to Norfolk to the base with two things in mind: to get out of the Navy and get out of Norfolk. And we ended up still living in Norfolk now, and it's 50 years later. And we ended up doing the 30 years in the Navy. But I went to a repair ship, the USS Vulcan. That was the first ship I was on.
USS Vulcan, and why don't you give us a little experience of your experience
well,
on the Vulcan?
That was during the Vietnam was really starting to heat up then, and we were a repair ship, so all the ships that we were working on was either going to Vietnam or going to the Med, and there was all kinds of work going on, valve work, pump work. In the machine shop, we was always doing a lot of machine work, and just anything that needed to be fixed, we were able to do that. Then, after the 2 years, I got out, and then staying in the reserves. I got out as a second class, and then while in the reserves, I made first class, and then I was able to go to B school through the reserves. So Shirley, my wife, and I got married in '68. So she and I went out to San Diego. I went to a reserve meeting one night, and I had been working on a ship, and talked to a boy that he had just come back from B school, and I was telling him I had a reserve meeting that night, and I was in the reserves. He said, "Well, I had some reserves in my class." I said, "In B school?" He says, "Yeah." I said that they were came on active duty to go to B school. So I went to a reserve meeting that night, and I asked the old boy, asked his Chief Youngman, I said, "Chief, can I go to B school?" He says, "Yeah, put a chit in." So I filled a chit in that night, filled it out, gave it to him, and 3 weeks later, my wife, Shirley, myself, and our poodle was on a plane headed for San Diego. And we flew out to San Diego and did 17 weeks of B school. And that's the advanced training for MRs. And we learned all turret lathes and tool and cutter grinders, other types of lathes, just turret lathe type work, and very, very technical in compared to what the A school had been. So it really was very educational, and like I said, I had just picked up first class, and then we came back, and then there was only 2 of us in my class that was from the East Coast. The rest of them, there was 9 of us in the class. The rest of them were from the West Coast, and the one that was from the East Coast, he ended up being the detailer. So he said, "Pat, if you ever need anything, just give me a call." So we got out, continued going to our meetings, doing our active duty stuff, and then we decided that maybe it was the opportunity to go back into the Navy. And I called him up, and I asked him, "Could you get me a set of orders?" He says, "Yeah, I'll send you to a new submarine tender in Norfolk, the USS Spear." So we went ahead and came back on active duty, and from then on we stayed in.